Namaskar. Hello and welcome to P Guru's channel. I'm your host Sridhar. Joining me today, as always, on Sundays at 7 p.m. IST, Sridhar Chityala ji, and we're going to be talking about what led to this invasion of, well, we can't say invasion, but the capture of Maduro. There are lots of factors at work in the back, and some of you may be shocked to know some of the details. And this is what it is. First time, I think, exclusively covered in P Gurus. Nobody else has given all this information. Request to all of you to please like this video. And now let's welcome Sridhar Chityala ji. Sridhar ji, namaskar and welcome to P Guru's channel. How are you, sir?
Namaste ji, doing very well, thank you. Good evening to you, and good morning to you. Sorry, very good morning to you, and happy.
Thank you so much, sir. You have put together a very compelling deck, and I'm going to jump right into it. And I'll yield the floor to you, sir. Lot of new revelations, viewers. Some of you will be shocked, I'm sure. Over to you, sir.
Right. Okay. So I think, as is often the case, there are two sides of the story. There is the United States and Western version of the story, and then there is a lot of reaction from the other parts of the world, which probably has a contrarian view to what President Trump has done. But we need to present the case from the US side, which is what has led to this capture and bringing Maduro to United States to face trial. Okay, first slide. Next. Right, this is the press conference, shows the image, President Trump flanked by Marco Rubio. Marco Rubio has also given a number of press conferences justifying as to the rationale. Next. This is the picture that was taken on the ship, which transported Maduro from Caracas to United States. Next. Okay, so in dramatic developments, U.S. forces raid Venezuelan palace. They have been working. The United States has been, the army has been working closely with the FBI and CIA for over 6 months, tracking every movement and every aspect of what Maduro was doing, and so they had a pretty good picture of what was going on. So they launched the attack around 1 a.m. U.S. time and 2 a.m. Venezuelan time. I think 5 different parts of Caracas was attacked. The army bases was attacked, and then 2 helicopters landed on the palace. The Delta Force is the force that landed and captured Maduro from his palace before he could make his way into what they call as the fortress steel doors. And then he was brought to United States, and he was received by FBI, Drug Enforcement Directorate, and the Department of Justice. Department of Justice has framed the case. Drug Enforcement provides the evidence, and FBI obviously any kind of investigative aspects, which will be part of the briefing in the court. Next. Okay, Trump post this in the press conference. He has asserted that we will run Venezuela until a proper transition is in place. He warns the world this can happen to you. Most notably, I think his wrath was targeted at some of the South American countries or Latin American countries where rogue regimes are in vogue. And of course, Marco Rubio, who is a Cuban by himself, whose family migrated, made a specific remark to looking at Cuba as to if they don't change, that their turn may be the next. They are not afraid to put boots on the ground, U.S. firms to rebuild. Nothing has happened on the Venezuelan oil fields, which has been draining and which has been misused, abused, whatever you can say, putting people in a lot of difficulty. So there's going to be a lot of capital required, and basically Trump has asserted again that U.S. firms will invest and rebuild the oil fields. And then both Cecilia Maduro and Nicolás Maduro both will face the full wrath of the court, and that's been his kind of assertion. The whole operation was conducted in complete secrecy. The Gang of Eight is the intelligence committee, which generally gets briefed prior to any such incident. They were not briefed. Rubio defended secrecy, saying that it required meticulous operation and no kind of interference. They were preparing for this launch 4 days ago, 2 days ago, and when the opportunity presented itself, it happened on first night, second morning, and rest is history in terms of what transpired. Sriji, you just raised your hand. You have to say something.
Sir, can you expand on who comprised the Gang of Eight, sir?
4 members from the Democrats and 4 members from the Republicans. G. If you want me to list all the names, we can kind of put it up. I don't remember all the 8 names.
So, but it would be like Chuck Schumer, that kind of level people, right?
Yeah, Chuck Schumer and Chuck Schumer, Tom Cotton, those types of people, Sriji.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Let's go to the next slide.
Okay, so I think it's also very important to point out Tom Cotton, the Arizona senator, came out and mentioned, we are not talking about a sitting president, we are talking about a criminal who was running a drug racket wing in Venezuela, whose election is illegal, and the person who won the election was Gonzalez. So there is no formal, legally, there is no formal briefing required for the Gang of the Eight, and both FBI, president, and are acting within the powers to enforce the indictment. We'll come to the indictment in a second. So U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi announced on Saturday that Venezuelan Nicolás and First Lady were indicted in 2020 on drug charges. Now that has been followed or succeeded by the new charges called narco-terrorism charges. So therefore, that will be the basic indictment, and the case will be filed in the Manhattan court, and the indictment proceedings will commence. So they have used the U.S. judicial system in terms of enforcing this enactment or enforcing this indictment. So they use technical terminology and technical verbiage as to why it's narco-terrorism. Why it is narco-terrorism? The New York, including the police officials who were on the television, have confirmed or declared that some of the drugs seized from Venezuela into United States actually contained fentanyl, which Trump has called fentanyl as, which is a lot of deaths. I think Sriji himself has done a very big show on fentanyl and its consequences in around Mexico-Arizona border. So, but it has come through New York, and if it is fentanyl, and if they provide evidence, which is why you have DEA, then this could be, as somebody said, it's almost like WMD, and so this becomes now terrorism rather than narcotics, Sriji. That's the kind of the technical. That is why this follows the initial 2019 and supersedes 2020 indictment. Now this is around November, and I think Maduro had inkling that there could be a raid. He is briefing his army officers and basically telling them to defend and be prepared for a potential invasion or raid by United States. Next. Okay, now we go to the other side of the story, which is Iran and Venezuela. There is a historical connection dating back to Soviet time, and that has been dealt a devastating blow as a result of this action. Iran and Hezbollah, remember Hezbollah, this is, okay, turned Venezuela into a trafficking hub. Primarily, Venezuela was used by Hezbollah for collecting money through trafficking, through illegal arms, and also through other types of criminal activities. Money was collected, discreetly, and including illegal oil trade, and that was used to fund the Hezbollah's operations. Okay, this intelligence has been collected, and this has been in works for quite some time. And this is what prompted Trump to get into action and obviously they're going to present a fair amount of evidence to this effect. And they also have evidence that Maduro gave diplomatic passports to some of the terror proxies. He gave them immunities, and Iran has also supplied him with operational drones, which was threatening from a U.S. interest point of view. Okay, Bolivia, which is a close Proximus border or closely aligned, shifted its policy from left to center right when it elected a new president, and to some extent, Bolivia also shed its left-wing movements. Why I'm mentioning Bolivia is that around you'll see many countries coming into, Chile, Colombia, even Mexico getting mentioned. And Bolivia was also a hub that was a part of this big Iran Venezuela connection and was used as a conduit by Hezbollah. Next. Okay, who is Tareck El Aissami? Tareck El Aissami is a former Venezuelan vice president from 2017 to 2018. He served as Minister of Industries and Petroleum Ministry, considered a very influential figure at that point of time within the Maduro administration. He is accused of corruption, money laundering, and obviously Hezbollah links. Son of a Lebanese mother and Syrian father. He has, obviously deep roots. It was during this particular period, apparently somewhere between 4 to 6 terror training camps began operation in Venezuelan area, especially around Margarita Islands. U.S. Immigration and USICE listed Aissami on its most wanted list in 2019. So he actually, believe it or not, look at his name. He was a vice president of Venezuela. Next.
Sir, before we go, just 1 second, sir. Viewers, some of you are virtual, some of you are real. Don't give too much credence to the comments that are coming. We are presenting you the data. This guy was the vice president. How can somebody who is totally unconnected with Latin America rise to such a high level? Understand where the stakes are, viewers. Also, sir, you are going to touch upon the area where there were many relatives of Maduro running the whole operation. You're going to talk about that, right?
Yeah. So, El Aissami, former Venezuelan vice president. Okay, now we finished this slide. Let's go to the next slide. There's evidence of Hezbollah's long-standing presence in Venezuela. Margarita Island, cited as the main Hezbollah training location. His presence in Venezuela dates back to the 90s. At least 6 Hezbollah training camps that I referred to were located near Caracas and Margarita. But Margarita was island which is north of Caracas, was the main focal point uninhabited, and people, these training camps went on subtly and simultaneously. And then government cover facilitates Hezbollah's covert activities, and I will mention to you some of them even went on Venezuelan passports. It became a growing threat to the U.S. interests in the Western Hemisphere. So this is again cited by Marco Rubio, and Marco Rubio has stated one of the people. I mean, he is the Secretary of State who has been pushing. There is no point in United States spending time, trying to solve the problems in Middle East and trying to solve the problems in South China Sea and so on, when actually the problems with Russia, China, Iranian footprint close to its shores, with dual problems of potential terror threats as well as security threats from the equipment that was now under the possession of Venezuela, and then of course the inflow of drugs, which was creating more problems. Some of these incidents took place. If you remember, some of these things we were touching on during the 2021 to 2024 period. Okay, Now, if somebody doesn't believe in what Trump is doing, go back to 2015. 2015, President Obama called Maduro as a national security threat to the United States. This is President Obama going back to 2015. Next. So the Hezbollah-Venezuela axis, intelligence also confirms both not just in Venezuela, but in Argentina, from Argentina to Colombia. Go back to some of the soft target attacks that took place on Jewish centers and synagogues in Argentina and around Argentina. And that basically, as a result of operations conducted by the trained guerrillas from Venezuela. Okay, they're supported by obviously Venezuela and obviously Russia, which has had a long strategic interest in Venezuela, and needless to say, Iran. Now, there's an annual budget. Again, we will share more details of it. It's somewhere between $400 to $700 million of annual money spent by Iran on Hezbollah. And it is funded, not fueled, funded by oil smuggling, drugs, and crime. This is the funding center, remote in Latin American location, but addressing the operations that is taking place, be it in Yemen and be it in Syria, be it in Lebanon, and be it in Gaza. So this is where the money actually guzzled out of. As I mentioned to you, evidence cited of fentanyl mixed with cocaine in U.S. drug. That's why the charges indictment went from narcotics to narcotic terrorism. So there is this Hezbollah, Venezuela. This has not been, this evidence has not been detailed, but if you go back and check, you will find much of this data is available. And this will be presented as things get hotter in as this case further develops into prosecution time. Okay, the axis beneath the Venezuela. What is the extent of? We don't know. What's the extent of Iran, Russia, China, and Maduro nexus? So everybody thinks, oh, United States, because there's 535 billion barrels of oil per day. It's the largest oil reserve. Of course, most of it is not usable now because there are no refineries they are not of the light sweet crude. So it requires extensive refining. So the story is it is because of this that United States has timed it now rather than later. If that is the case, what's the role of China beyond access to oil and resources? Venezuela is also a source of rare earths, which everybody needs. Did Russia and Iran arm the regime to sustain and power and shield the illegal oil and narcotics trade because it's lucrative? Is that the reason why Russia and Iran, besides funding of the Hezbollah and before the training of the Hezbollah was also being trained basically to see if any soft attacks can be launched against United States. Again, this is some of this is part of the indictment. What is the role of Hezbollah here? Is it soft Israeli targets in Latin America or the US itself? So it's just not coincidental that Benjamin Netanyahu was also in White House recently. He was also consulted and is also believed, just like you have the Chinese and the Russian agents, you also have Mossad and you also have CIA operating on ground in Venezuela, and a fair amount of intelligence input going to various people. So it begs the question, are we at the tip of the iceberg? Now, I think the point that Sridhar made is that there are 14 members who have been identified and who has been listed in the indictment, that they are part of the members of the Maduro family, Cecilia Maduro and Nicolás Maduro, and they operate and manage the drug narcotics ring. All the money is in the hands of these 14, which form the broad family power group of Venezuela. This is the reason why the opposition leader doesn't call Maduro as the president. He stole the elections, according to her, in 2024. The 2024 elections were won by Gonzalez, but Gonzalez was not allowed to take power. He was driven out. He is now in exile in Spain, ready to step in and move into the power when called for. But all of these things were controlled through covert operations of this 14-member gang, and they are in important positions, be it defense, be it intelligence, be it in army, controlling the destiny of Venezuela. Next. What is the new US doctrine? Has the US policy shifted to the Western Hemisphere? The answer is yes, that has been confirmed by Marco Rubio himself. He says, first, let's focus close to home because we have looming threats right near home. Drones that has been received from Iran by Venezuela goes into action, we could be facing consequences near shore, and not just stopping and spreading to the adjacent Latin American region, because there is a very strong Hezbollah Iranian footprint within the Venezuelan territory. Okay, so nearshore threat to the imminent security of US was one of the things that Marco Rubio has been working on. This is why, if you recall, in 2 or 3 shows we had mentioned ago that Marco Rubio has been very quiet. Is obviously all the work or all the coverage is being done by Trump, while he has relegated himself to the background. So it's obvious to say that this has been at works and going on for quite some time. Is the US sending a warning to other rogue nations that it is prepared to act? The answer is yes. I think Trump has asserted that position. Was Benjamin Netanyahu's visit to the US also to brief Trump on Hezbollah in the region? This is a question, but I think again is obviously there is no smoke without fire. He has been very active and tracking these guys again in the interest of Israel more than in the interest of anybody else. So he's also done his own kind of briefing to President Trump. Next slide. Right. Okay, so, well, the left, they're called as the socialists, left-wing, Marxist, communist beliefs. You have a whole bunch of them always been active in United States. They swung into action. And many names that you may see, we're going to kind of put up a slide very soon, but let me finish this page slide. Many of these people are the ones who conduct rallies. 9/11 they conducted, Hamas, Israeli raid on Gaza, again they acted, then Palestinian, they acted. You see them. So 1 o'clock, United States landed in Caracas. You will see the time log of their Twitters or X posts. By 2 a.m., they had called for emergency day of action in New York City, Washington, D.C., and an estimated 100 other cities, moving with the speed and discipline of an organized military operation. They're extremely well organized, which is effectively to say, no war, get out of Venezuela, and release Maduro. These are the slogans. Leaders like Mamdani and Kamala Harris, and of course AOC, Ilhan, they've all come out into the open to condemn US action. And then of course Bernie Sanders, and including Senate leader Schumer, has basically said, hey, what you have done is illegal. And I explained to you when Tom Cotton gave a press briefing as to why he said this is not illegal. This is enforcement of an indictment which is within the US law. If you remember Daniel Noriega, how it was done going back to 1989. Next. Right. Before we go to who is running Venezuela, Sachin, if that slide, 1-page slide is ready, just show it. Yes.
Can we zoom in a little bit? I can read it, but yeah.
All the names that you would be Vijay Prashad, then there is Neville Roy Singham. Remember the Neville Roy Singham? All belonging
Sri Lankan, Sri
all
Lankan
belong
American.
to that Soros. These are all the things that came after 1 a.m. So 1:35 a.m. breakthrough news: illegal bombing of Caracas, Venezuela. You will see the Twitter handle. So you have all these what you call hidden groups or open groups. They come into action very quickly and create a raccoon in the market. And this is not a imagination. This is very real. In fact, Mamdani has went on to say that he will do everything possible to make sure that such punitive things don't happen under his kind of jurisdiction, and he's called the whole thing illegal. Nothing is going to happen. They have no jurisdictions. They make a lot of noise. Recently, I think Mamdani also made a lot of noise about something that he is not supposed to with regard to that Omar Khalid in India. But this just tells you how deep the ecosystem and how well organized the ecosystem is. Next slide. Who is running Venezuela? Venezuela is being run by Rodriguez, Miss Rodriguez. She is the current vice president. Supreme Court has ordered that she succeed and oversee. There has been conversations between Marco Rubio and Ms. Rodriguez. The question is whether what Rubio is saying is true or what Ms. Rodriguez is saying is true. We don't know. Remember, still this gang is in full operation in Venezuela. So she's probably protecting herself, but she is the one who is running. We will know in the next few days as to how this whole situation is going to take shape. Remember, we are presenting this data as is presented, as is collected from the evidence that we have within the ecosystem. Of course, there is a complete, so there is unanimous support from Europe, and there's also support from not only some of the Democratic Party members, some of the people in Venezuela, that a big evil has been let go. But there are other countries such as Russia, China, Iran, North Korea, plus many other countries, who have expressed concern and this whole operation as illegal without kind of understanding the nuances and the technicality as to how the drug lords are dealt with in United States. Sriji.
Thank you so much, sir. We're not going to take any questions today. A lot of wild stuff being shared. This is what the facts are. This is what is in the indictment. You can take it or leave it. You can leave by comments what you think. But this is just the beginning. Like Sridharji said, it's just the beginning. A lot more is going to happen. And also, we haven't even touched this other place called Colon, just the northern part of the Panama Canal, from where it's like a distribution warehouse that China runs for the entire Latin America. So it's very easy to see how drugs could get mixed with any normal merchandise. It's a huge operation, viewers. They're just uncovering we are just uncovering the tip of the iceberg. Stay tuned. Thank you so much, Sridhar. There was a very compelling presentation. It's all data here, and there are more things going to happen. After all, the investment has been there for decades. In fact, I remember, sir, in 2017, there was a Latin American heads of state conference, and President Trump wanted to arrest Maduro then. And two heads of state in the Latin American countries evidently had talked him out of it. 2017 years. This is not something that's happening now. And this is also going to help some of the heavy crude refiners such as Phillips 66 or Valero and so on and so forth. And this is also going to bring stability in the crude market. Who knows, if US decides to challenge Russia for what's happening in Ukraine, if it goes below $50, it's going to be a huge pain point for Russia. This is exactly what played out in 1986 for Russia. that I mean USSR, which had led to the breakup in 1989. Just wait, okay? These are lots of things that are happening, and we're all trained to think and read and make decision in a certain way. And when something comes opposite to that, you feel like you need to lash out at someone. Feel free. What we are telling you is what we are seeing as data. It's up to you how you want to digest this information. Thank you so much, Sridharji. We may come in the middle of the week again to give you an update. Stay tuned. Thanks once again, sir. Namaskar.
Namaskar. Thank you so much, and have a wonderful day or a wonderful evening.